Yo 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 yo. What's going on? Good afternoon. How we doing? How we feeling? How we looking? What's popping, man? On this nice, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Yes, spring weather is on this way. Man, I always tell you I love spring weather. I love summer weather. I'm not a fan of cold, wintry weather. So to see that the weather starting to make a change is great. It's currently according to my weather channel app, it's currently 76 degrees here in middle Georgia. And I love it, man. And it looks like the rest of the week is gonna be pretty nice. Tomorrow will be a high in the 73. Saturday is supposed to be about 80 degrees. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, you can see, Mother Nature starting to change the course in terms of the weather. I'm noticing the flowers are starting to bloom, so the cold weather is on its way out. And I could not be any more happier. Again, I'm not a fan of cold weather. I like the snow was cool this year. That was pretty cool. Because we rarely ever get any snow to that magnitude where I live at. So that was pretty cool to see. But outside of that, I don't like cold weather. I don't like when it gets dark, 5:15, 5:20 in the afternoon. I don't like none of that, man. I don't like none of it. And my mom, she's a big cold weather person. So me and her always go back and forth. Oh man, I love the cold weather. I'm like, nah, mom, that ain't what it is. Hot. And the funny thing is, I was born, in December, so maybe that has something to do with it. But who knows? Welcome in, people. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. How we feeling? How we doing? Pop-up show, pop-up show, pop-up show. This was not scheduled or or planned. We just popped in. We won't be here long. We're gonna pop in, pop right back out. But yes, we are here. I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris specifically. And as you come in, make sure that you do smash that like button for your dogs so we can hop in that algorithm. But the last time I was on live, we talked about Raheem, we talked about Terry. We looked at their press conferences. This time I want to continue to talk about them, but take a different angle this time. As you see on the title, the title tells you Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are on the hot seat. Yes, they are on the hot seat. I'm here to tell you that right now, early before the season even starts. They're entering the season on the hot seat. And I know some of y'all may say, well, Toddy, you was one of the main people on YouTube that was telling us don't fire Raheem Morris, and now you saying that he on the hot seat. Can you make up your mind, sir? Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was guilty as charged. That was me. But that was last season. We are entering a new season with new expectation, new goals. So to address last season, my perspective, when I was saying no, Raheem Morris should not be fired, I was saying that not based upon me like being some super fanboy Raheem Morris or anything like that. As I always say, with me, it's never personal. It ain't never personal with me and nobody with the organization. I just want what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. But with that said, I think a lot of, and this is like 90% of the time with the Falcons, I think people are just frustrated. And once you get frustrated and angry, and frustration and anger, those are technically emotions. And once your emotions start to get intertwined, and we're all human. Once emotions get intertwined, sometimes you don't think as logically as you would when your emotions are not involved. That's why sometimes they tell you, hey man, take a deep breath before you react. If you feel your emotions, take a deep breath before you react. You know, that old famous "don't press in." You don't really want to make emotional reactions, and I think that's what a large number of people were doing last year with Raheem Morris. The season was not going how we wanted to go, and I think people were just lashing out. I think they were lashing out. So the reason that for me, I did not think he deserved to be fired was because, well, one, he gave us our for the Falcons, and I know this is a a low um bar to set, but that was the most wins that we've had since 2017 in his first season as our head coach. And that would be the third head coach, including him, since 2017. So I could not wrap my head around any kind of logic to say, well, the first year head coach, most wins the franchise has had since 2017, but you should be fired. To me, that the logic of that just didn't make sense. The logic itself did not make sense. I was like, well, how does that work? How are we gonna fire the guy, the head coach who's given us our most wins since 2017 in his first year, may I add? How does that make sense? Like, that don't make sense to me. So that was one component of it. And another component of it, combined with the most wins since 2017, like, if you fire him with an 8-win season, then that's like the standard that the franchise is setting for themselves. Like, okay, anybody that comes in here, if you don't get at least 8 wins, you got to get fired. So putting all that on the table, it just didn't make sense to me. I really just think people were frustrated because the Falcons were bad once again, and we are tired as fans. We're tired of seeing this team being bad and being terrible, and I oftentimes use scapegoating, man. And so anytime things are going bad, going terrible, or not going as planned, somebody got to play the role of the scapegoat, especially when it comes to NFL football. And I think Raheem Morris, he had to take the brunt of the blame and the brunt of being, the scapegoat. But to me, it just, I don't want to say it's about being fair, because life isn't fair. But I just did not see any reasons that Raheem should lose his job after just one season. If you're gonna fire this guy after one season, then that says that really tells me that the ownership, the front office, are absolutely terrible. They're absolutely terrible. If you're gonna fire him after one season, if you're not gonna at least give him a fair chance to implement his system, to implement his blueprint, to put his fingerprints on the team. If you're not going to even give him a fair chance, then that really means the ownership ain't shit. The front office ain't shit. And some people are probably thinking to themselves, Tyler, well, I hope you just that two things can be true. But it would be a different story if in year one with Raheem, we only won 2 games, 3 games, 4 games. At that point in time, okay, I get it. All right, you got to go. Because we're going to be picking in the top 3, and this is way below expectations. Now, to be fair, going 8-9 was also below expectations, but not that much below expectations if you're looking at things not being a Falcons fan. There are not many Vegas odd makers or any of the respected or publications that have credentials that expect the Falcons to run away with the NFC South or the NFC in general. So yeah, granted, 8-9 was below expectations, but on most odds on most of the booking sites that I looked at from Vegas, they had us winning 9 to 9.5 games. So kind of ended up where they said we end up at, regardless. Anyway, but that's another component of why I didn't think he should be fired. Again, not a super Raheem fan. I'm a fan of him as our head coach while he's here, but it none of it added up to me. Firing him after year one, after an 8-win season, it didn't make sense to me. And as I said before, then you gotta think about everybody that's looking at you. All these other potential head coaches. If they're looking at the fact, well, man, you fire Raheem Morris after he gives you your most wins you've had since 2017, and he gets fired after one season, I don't want to coach them. So now you could possibly limit or throttle yourself from getting another potentially better head coach the next time you do your next head coaching search, all by firing him prematurely. Because the rest of the candidates, I don't want to. I'm good on Atlanta. And let's be honest, man, we are already Atlanta. So that's already one strike against us. We are the Falcons. It's not like you're walking in to the San Francisco 49ers as a head coach, or the Green Bay Packers, or Kansas City, or even New England. I know they're down now, but they got a storied history. Just one of those franchises. So, it's already a demerit because we're the Falcons. And then you have this resume. Oh, man, they just fire everybody there all the time. I'm not going to go work there. And then, when you have to, instead of getting a top tier candidate, now you're getting tier B and tier C candidates, because that's really the only candidates that are really showing genuine interest in you. Yeah, all the rest of these guys may come interview with you because that's part of the process. All right, we're going to interview with every team we can. That's their agents are telling them. We're going to interview with Atlanta and whoever else, Minnesota. I'm just throwing out teams because that's what we need to do. But they way down on our list. They're playing D, E, F, G. They're not playing A or playing B. So you got to consider all that stuff, man. So that's a big reason I thought firing Raheem Morris just did not make sense. And now I was a person, and I know it's popular now for a lot of Falcons fans to say, well, we should have hired Bill Belichick. I was on that train when the search was going on during that time. I was not a pro Raheem Morris guy. To be honest, I didn't really foresee him getting a job no matter what. So I was a Bill Belichick person. But they didn't go with Bill Belichick, and then I can do with that. So whoever they hire, whether that be Raheem Morris or whoever they hire, it's only you have to do the right thing by that coach that you hired. You got to stick to your guns. You got to give him a fair shake to at least get the franchise going in the right direction. If not, what's the point of hiring him? If you're just gonna make an Arthur Blank, if you're gonna just make an emotional decision and fire the guy after the one season, why hire him? You might have well just kept Arthur Smith here. Just keep Arthur Smith here, because you can't keep starting over with head coaches and new staffs, and that's and I know who we are truly, but that's one of the characteristics of a horrible ass franchise who can't get right. That's a characteristic of a horrible franchise. You can't get right. You're going through coaches every 1 to 2 years. So if you did your due diligence, this the guy that the powers to be decided y'all gonna hire, you stick with him. You at least give him a fair shot. You at least give him another season, especially that he got 8 wins. Now, with that said, it's time to flip the switch. With that said, they brought him back. They got rid of Jimmy Lake, scapegoat. But they brought Raheem Morris back. Now, Raheem, you enter this season on the hot seat. You enter the season on the hot seat. Like I just said, it was fair to bring you back. But now, Raheem and Terry Fontenot, you guys got to get in the playoffs this year. You guys got to get in the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to jump in the deep end of the pool and say, well, no, you got to get to the NFC Championship game, or if you don't get to a Super Bowl, it's a total failure. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to be realistic in what I think this franchise or what these two individuals need to do in order to get another season with the Falcons. Again, this is a franchise who have not had a winning season since 2017. Again, this is a franchise who's not even been in the playoffs since 2017. Again, this is a franchise who has not even played a playoff game in their own stadium. Goodness. We have not even played a playoff game in our own crib. The Alabama Crimson Tide, the Georgia Bulldogs have played more playoff games in our crib than we have. So I'm gonna be realistic. I'm not finna shoot the Mars and say, well, they gotta get to the NFC title game, or they gotta get to the Super Bowl, or they gotta win the Super Bowl, or the season is a failure. No. I'm gonna be realistic. I'm not gonna sell y'all no cap. I'm gonna be realistic. They need to get into the playoffs. If this team gets into the playoffs with a quarterback who will be embarking on his first year as a starter, that's very important. His first year as a starter, if they get in the playoffs, that's a win for Arthur and Terry. That's a win. Would I like them to shock the world and do a Buster Douglas and win the Super Bowl? Of course, y'all. Of course I would. But again, I'm being realistic, man. I'm not gonna put these crazy demands and crazy expectations on a team who's shown they don't even know how to win. So if they shown me for almost a decade they don't know how to win, I can't all of a sudden reach tomorrow and say, well, okay, you need to win the Super Bowl. Now, the Baltimore Ravens fans, they may have those expectations because they've been in the playoffs year after year after year, and they're just missing it. They're just missing it. Buffalo Bills fans, hey man, that might be their expectations. They may feel like, man, we just as good as Kansas City. We just as good as Philadelphia. If the refs didn't cheat us, we would have beat the Chiefs and went to the Super Bowl. Those are valid standpoints. But you know what? As God saw fit, I became an Atlanta Falcons fan. So I got to look at my team and look at our history these last 10 years and base my expectations on that. I can't put myself and my team up there with the big boys because we ain't the big boys. I hope we eventually become one of the big boys, but we ain't there yet. As the old saying goes, you got to crawl before you can walk. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to first get into the playoffs before you can actually get to the Super Bowl. So just getting to the playoffs is a win. That's a win for Arthur. I'm finna say Arthur Smith. For Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. That's a win. Do I want us to get in the playoffs and win? Of course, y'all. Absolutely. Because I don't want nobody to mentality just say we just need to get in the playoffs and we good. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the expectations for the head coach and the general manager. They need to get this team into the playoffs. Because if you can get the team into the playoffs with Michael Penix, I strongly feel like Arthur Blank will say, you know what? We can build off that. Okay, we got in playoffs this year. Next year, let's shoot for the conference. Then that's when you start talking about the NFC conference title game. After you win at least one playoff game, then you can start saying, man, bump it. Let's go get a Super Bowl. Gotta crawl before you can walk. Gotta crawl before you can walk. The Detroit Lions, they have, turned their franchise right side up. And I say right side up instead of upside down. They're going in the right direction when they were the Falcons for a long time. But you're seeing as good or as great as that team is, hey man, it's not just easy to get to that Super Bowl, big dog. It's ask the Lions. It's not easy just to get to that Super Bowl, big dog. This is the NFL, man. This is a whole different beast. So you got to crawl before you can walk. So the expectations to me, in order for Arthur, I keep saying Arthur, in order for Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot to keep their jobs going to 2026, you got to get this team in the playoffs. You got to. Now, if you don't get to the playoffs, and I'm not even saying you got to win the NFC South. Do I want to win the NFC South? Of course. Duh. But hey, just get to the playoffs. That needs to be the short-term goal for this team. Get to the playoffs. I feel like they get to the playoffs, that'll extend Raheem at least another year. That's going to extend Terry for at least another year. Because you get to the playoffs with a young quarterback, now you really got something to build on. Especially in his first year as the full-time starter. You now have something to build on. You now got your owner to the point, okay, we back in the playoffs. You know what? The fans, us fans, now, oh man, we a playoff team. We a playoff team. We are now a playoff team. So to me, that's what they need to get. And if they don't get there, I don't think they'll be back. Again, I said it was fair to give Raheem Morris another season, and now you give him another season. If he don't get into the playoffs, I really think at that point you got to move past Raheem Morris. After only 2 years. And the reason I feel that way is because we all know the Kirk Cousins fiasco and how that went. But this is the thing. No matter how that money was spent, and we spent it on Kirk Cousins, you entered this past season, the season that just passed, the 2024 season, you entered that season with a lot of salary cap space. And you spent it on a quarterback. Hey, cool. I'm cool with that. You spent it on a quarterback. It did not work. So now your back is literally against the wall. Now, if you're looking at the fact Arthur Smith got 3 years, you're probably saying, well, Toddy, why are you going to get Arthur Smith 3 years and Raheem only get 2? What you trying to say, big dog? Relax. Arthur Smith did not get salary cap money until his final year. That's when the salary cap opened up for Arthur Smith, his final year. That's when his salary cap opened up, and that final year gave him 3 consecutive losing seasons. Arthur Blank decided, enough is enough. Let's go. Raheem Morris, you had salary cap. Now, you didn't have as much as Arthur Smith had, but you had more than enough, bro. You had more than enough. You had more than enough salary cap space to do what was needed to get this team winning. And we spent essentially the vast majority on the quarterback, and it did not work. Now we're trying to dig ourselves back out of this mud of the Kirk Cousins fiasco, and somebody has to be held responsible for that. So, if we don't get to the playoffs this year, the fact that Raheem, you had salary cap space, and now you got the Kirk Cousins fiasco. We got to move past you. Okay, we was fair with you. We gave you a fair shake. Time to move on. And pretty much the same thing with Terry Fontenot. Terry Fontenot, you have had 2 separate head coaches with salary cap space, and hypothetically speaking, if we don't get in the playoffs this year, you got to move past you, because that you have had ample time. And now I feel like Arthur Blank didn't fire Terry with Arthur Smith based on the fact I don't think Terry had his full general manager powers during the Arthur Smith era, based on what they told us. I'm going based on what they told us. I don't think he had his full power. So when they hand him the keys to the car, okay, big dog, it's your team now. You run the ship. They hand him the keys to the car with Raheem. Okay, here you go, Terry. And again, you had salary cap money, Terry. We still had a losing season. Now we're gonna give you another shot, Terry, to get this thing right. We're gonna give you another draft. We'll give you another offseason. Now, if you don't get it right this time, we gotta move past you. We gotta move past you. We can't sit here and babysit nobody. That's why I keep repeating, y'all. It's never personal with me. I'm not a super fan of any of these coaches. I am big fans of our players, but it's the Falcons first, and then everybody else falls way below them. I want the logo. I want the franchise, to succeed. Whether that be with Raheem and Terry, whether that be with Bijan and Penix, whatever. If Michael Penix come out here and he ain't the guy that we need him to be, give me about a good year and a half, 2 seasons. I'll know what Michael Penix is. And if I see he ain't the guy, I'm gonna be on here banging on him. And I'm a huge fan of him right now. But it's all about the franchise. It's about the Falcons. I don't get too consumed into one player. It's never personal with me with no player. Never personal. Just like I could come on here and I could give Matt Ryan all the props in the world. And I could come on here and give him a lot of criticism too. And I use Matt for example because he's the most polarizing player probably in Falcons history, I think. Because he's so polarizing. You got people over here that are super pro Matt Ryan, then you got people over here that are super anti Matt Ryan. And with me, hey, he played for the Falcons. I appreciate what he did. He did a lot for the franchise. He's definitely one of the top 3 Falcons of all time. You can never take that away from him until somebody, supersedes him. So I give him his props. I can also give him some criticism. Same thing with Julio Jones. I give him some props. I can say, man, Julio's an athletic freak. Boy, you went finna mess with Julio. Julio in his prime, shoot, ain't nobody finna guard Julio. Boy, shit. Julio, arguably the best wide receiver of his era. He right there with Antonio Brown. And at the same token, I could come and say, but you know what? Julio really couldn't get open in tight spaces. Julio, his weakness was he couldn't score the football efficiently. And that's been the same Julio since Alabama. For everything that he did athletically, getting open in tight spaces, that really wasn't his thing. So that's some of the reason. That's a significant reason why the touchdown totals were low his entire career. And people, well, no, it was Matt Ryan's fault. No, it wasn't Matt Ryan's fault. That's who Julio was in Alabama. That's who Julio was with Matt Ryan. That's who Julio was after Matt Ryan. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is with me. That's how it is. That's how it is with me. Devontae Freeman is probably him and Warwick Dunn are probably my favorite Falcons running backs of all time. I can come out here and say, man, y'all, people don't appreciate how damn good Devontae was, man, in his prime, 2015, 2016. He scored all these touchdowns. He was actually Bijan in a sense, based on being there's not so much their specific styles, because they're stylistically they're differently, but how they were used in the offense. Freeman was used just like we use Bijan, but I also could come on here and say, hey man, I don't know what Free was doing in a Super Bowl on that block, bro. You got to block that dude, dog. You know what I'm saying? That dude came right through your peripheral vision. What are you doing? Are you pouting? You ain't getting the ball? Are you mad? Are you beeping? What the fuck you doing, Free? That's block the guy. So that's how I am, bro. Like I stay away from the player politics and the coaches' player politics. I'm going to just give it to you raw. Whether I like the guy, I don't like the guy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I started off as a big supporter of Troy Anderson. I thought like we could turn him into something. Now I'm starting to see like, man, Troy, he ain't it, bro. He ain't it. But you know what? The Saints game, I can still come out and say, damn, boy, Troy was a dog that Saints game, boy. I don't know what Troy might have got him some new, he might have got some new the night before the game, but boy, that boy Troy was balling that Saints game. I wish we can get that Troy Anderson every game. That's how it is, But get back on point, man. That's where I'm at with it. Terry Raheem, hey man, y'all don't get this team to playoffs this year. Peace. It was real. It was real big dog, but y'all got to go. Hartsfield International Airport. Load them bags, call that Uber, and we gonna holler at you, big dogs. We gonna holler at you. You got to get up out of here, bro. You got to go. If this team can't get in the playoffs, both of y'all got to get the F out of Atlanta. Hey, again, it ain't personal. No hard feelings. but we got to find somebody who can come in here and get this team to start winning consistently. Start winning consistently instead of losing consistently. So yes, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, they're on the hot seat. And this is coming from a guy in 2024, me, who was being their bodyguards. Nah, man, y'all tripping on Raheem. Y'all tripping on Terry. Man, y'all chill out. No, they don't need to get fired. They don't need to get fired. But let them come in here and lose. Have another loser season in 2025. I'm going to bang on them so hard, it's going to be a crying out shame. It's going to be a shame. It's time to start winning. It is time to start winning. So with that said, I found, they've started the NFL's combine. And I was watching a little bit of it before I came on. And what I want to do is I seen another interview from both Terry and Raheem, which I want to react to and go over with y'all real quickly before I get out of here. But before we do that, also shout out to the chat as well, man. I was at one of them, when I was just going, man. I was just going. So pardon me, for not recognizing everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all coming in. Shout out to Art Angel in the building. What's going on, my guy? Art, what's popping, man? Art says, rise up, tie the suit. Big 404 in this chat. You know what the hell's going on. Yes, love to see the 404. Hey, 404. 478 been representing these last few chats, man. 478 been representing last few chats. Jump the Rosie in the buildings was good. Thanks for going live. Help me get through my last files. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on, bro. Appreciate you falling through, man. 82 Monte Carlo in the house. What's up, big dog? What's happening, Monte Carlo? Appreciate you coming through, man. All right, so sorry I haven't been here for last few. Oh man, you good? You straight, bro. I always catch you and Coach Red John, all the usual suspects at work in the morning, getting me through the work. Yeah, man. And that's some of the reason that we do the late night shows, bro. Because we know most of America is sleep at that time. But that be for the night owls and the third shifters, and then people who work first shift. Hey, you got something to listen to while you're at work or whatever you're doing, while you're studying, while you're cooking, while you're cleaning the house. So it's all good, man. Appreciate you coming through as usual. Art got my guy Dom is in his house. What's going on? What you doing? What's happening, man? Appreciate you coming in. Got my brother James Holloway in the house. Shout out to my dog James. Watching the combine and watch you and at work at the same time. Yeah, I was just watching the combine before I came on here. I think the defensive linemen were running a 40 right before I pressed live to come on. Got Coach in the building. What's going on, Coach? Coach, he was on a hot seat starting from game 5 to me. So Coach, boy, he was already on my hot seat. That seat is past hot now. That seat is scorching. What's happening with you, Coach? Make sure I catch everybody. John Kemp in the house. What's happening with you, John? What's up, Ty? I agree. They should get one more. Yeah, man. Gotta get one more. Yeah, man. You got to, man. You can't fire the man after one season, and he done gave you the most wins you done had since 2017, man. So you gotta give him another year. Got to. King Atlanta in the house. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming in, man, as usual. What's up, everybody? Ready for some Super Bowl range? Yes, sir. Get them reins going. Art says, I never wanted Belichick and didn't want Raheem either. I'm not going to lie. I was a pro Belichick guy. I was on Twitter pushing the narrative. I was on Hill pushing the narrative. I was a pro Belichick guy. And Art said, I didn't want Raheem. I didn't want neither one of them. Hey, but when they didn't hire Belichick, for me, it is what it is. That's who they didn't want to hire him. In fact, Bill Belichick didn't even get an NFL job, so it is what it is. If Raheem, the guy, that's, as I always say, speaking about Raheem specifically, I'm riding with Raheem till I'm no longer riding with Raheem. That's who the powers that be decided they want to be the next head coach. So, you're going to have my support till you no longer have my support. That's who they did. They due diligence, brought in here. Hey, man, you got to get a guy more than 1 year to try to impact the franchise. It's not like he inherited a team full of talent and that had been winning the last few years. The fact that we have not won since 2017 really is a testament to how bad the roster is. If we being honest, a A lot of times we like to overrate our guys because they're Falcons players. We're Falcons fans, but this has been a very unbalanced roster, very unbalanced, so that's another aspect to it. James also said playoffs of pink slips. Exactly, James. Hey, man, you got to get in the playoffs or you got to ride out either or. Coach says, what you mean first year as a starter? He a rookie. First year as a full. If you're speaking of Michael Penix, this will be his first year as a full-time starter. He didn't start last year until 3 games before the regular season is over. So what I mean, this is the first time coming into training camp as a starter and projected to be the starter toward the end of throughout the season. Dom says 10 wins or better, a must this year. I can go for that. I can definitely go for that. Definitely go with that. Yeah, but speaking of coaches, y'all. William Paul, what's going on? William Tyson catches. You caught that straight. Yeah, he did catch it straight. Got my bro Zay in the bag in the house. That's my guy Zay, man. Shout out to you, Zay. Y'all, if y'all not following Zay on Twitter, make sure that you definitely follow Zay on Twitter, man. He's one of the best follows for just Atlanta Falcons fan content. When I say that guy be repping, he stay repping. And I'm telling you what, you say something about Michael Penix, he gonna be on your top. You know what I'm saying? But if you ain't following Zay, man, make sure you follow him on Twitter. And if I remember correctly, I think Zay said he about to start him a podcast as well. So y'all make sure to show my guy Zay a lot of love. Zay, if you want to, go ahead and drop your Twitter in the chat, man, so they can follow you up. Who else we got up in here? Gregory Jimmins. Hold on, Gregory Jiminson Sr. Okay, I think that means Greg. Let's just go there. I'm a country joker, bro. I can't talk that good. So why all of a sudden, because we get a black head coach, everybody want to hate. When none of the low lights hit on Art Smith after 3 years of losing. Last time I checked, Greg. Last time I checked, Greg, I'm a black dude. I'm a black man. Mama black, daddy black. So if you think this is hanging on Raheem because he black, brother, you ain't been listening, dog. Now, I don't know if you're talking to somebody in the chat or if you're talking to me. So I'm gonna take it if you're talking to me. So if you're talking to me, bro, you have not been listening, man. You have not been listening if you're talking to me. You know what I'm saying? You ain't been listening, bro. It ain't about hating on him, and I was very proud, very happy that Raheem got the job. First black head coach of the Falcons. Very happy, very proud that Terry got the job. First black general manager of the Falcons. So they made history for the Falcons. But you know what? You still got to do the job. Just being black ain't gonna be enough, bro. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be enough. You know what I'm saying? Again, happy, proud they got it. But you know what? If y'all can't start winning, y'all gotta ride out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to ride out. You got to go. You got to go. It ain't no hate. As I just thoroughly explained 2 or 3 times, I'm not a super fan of none of these people. I'm a fan of the Falcons. I want the Falcons to succeed. I want these choking bombs to one day win a Super Bowl while I'm still here to enjoy it. So if Terry and Raheem can't get it done, hey man, they got to ride out. They got to ride out. They got to ride out. Greg also says, we have a great quarterback, Michael Penix, and a great coach change in Atlanta. Back of our coach, Atlanta, like Coach Raheem. I hope Raheem does a great job, Greg. Like Greg, you find that black power tip like with the wrong person, man. You know what I'm saying? And this might be your first time on here, but they'll tell you. People in the chat will tell you, I was one of the Falcons content creators, one of the few Falcons content creators the few notable Falcons content creators that had Raheem back as a black head coach last year. They'll tell you in the chat, I ain't capping, or go look at some of the old videos. I don't delete none of them. That had Jimmy Lake back as a black defensive coordinator. I had that back. But you know what? If you can't get the job done, great, you gotta move on, bro. If I hire you as the assistant vice president of my company, as a black man hiring another black man, Greg, if you go 2-3 years and you failing and my profit ratio start to dwindle and you ain't getting a job done, Greg, bro, you got to go. You got to ride out, bro. I'm sorry. Being black don't trump the ultimate goal of business. That ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at with it, Greg. That's just where I'm at with it, big dog. That's just where I'm at with it, bro. I want to win a Super Bowl, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro? But I'm about to be knocking on 50 years old. I want to see these choking bums win a Super Bowl. If Terry can't do it, Raheem can't do it, they got to ride the fuck out. Straight up, straight like that. Straight like that. Straight like that. But with that said, man, since we're talking about coaches, looking at the chat, there was some recent news announced that the Atlanta Falcons made a decision to move TJ Yates to passing game coordinator and DJ Williams to quarterback coach. So Raheem Morris made a decision to move TJ Yates to passing game coordinator. Now, I know we got some super intelligent people in the chat that be on top of their Falcons news. Does anybody have any idea why that move was made? Does anybody know why that move was made? Let me know in the chat. Does anybody know why that move was made? Dreddy said Raheem Morris is effing trash, and I'm a black man who gives a F about him being black. I want to win. Raheem ain't it. Dreddy say F that boy. He talking about, bro. That dude, he just ain't it, dog. Dreddy say I'm a black man saying he ain't it, bro. Like, hey, Dreddy, hey, I'm pulling for Raheem as of right now. That's my head coach. I'm gonna be a fan of him, of my head coach. I want him to win. But Dreddy, hey man, you come out here, you get another lose season. You gotta go, dog. He gotta go, and he gotta take Terry with him. That's as simple as it gonna get. We can't sit here and keep losing. Say, well, no, that's a black man. We ain't gonna fire a black man. Shit, shouldn't me? You gotta get the hell on, bro. You gotta get the hell on. Just like Arthur Smith got the hell on, just like Dimitrov got the hell on. If you ain't winning, you got to go, bro. It's that simple. It's really that simple, man. It's really that simple. But going back to TJ Yates, Ghost Peppers in the house. What's going on with your ghost? Priest tried to 29-47 being black is not going to mask this pathetic ass coach. Yeah, exactly, bro. Hey, like I told Greg, like, hey, bro, if I hire you as whatever my company, manager of my company, vice president of my company, and bro, if you can't get the company where it needs to be, and you're doing a bad job, and the numbers and the profit ratios come back, and they say you're doing a bad, hey, bro, you gotta go. This is business, bro. You got to go. You got to go. I'm sorry, bro. And that's black man to black man. You got to go. You got to go. Art crazy. But yeah, I saw that move was made. TJ Yates moving him to pass game coordinator because Raheem Morris is trying to get ahead of something that may happen next offseason, this offseason. And that is he feels like there's a pretty reasonable chance that he's going to lose offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson. He feels like he may lose Zach Robinson to a head coaching opportunity in 2026. So he wants to get TJ Yates closer to Zach Robinson and closer to Michael Penix to get ahead of something that could possibly happen next year. Y'all know there were rumors that Zach Robinson, maybe taking a job somewhere else at the beginning of this offseason. But obviously, Raheem Morris, he's talked to Zach Robinson, so I'm sure he knows what his aspirations ultimately is, and you get people in the circle talk to each other. So if the Falcons come out and they have another good offensive year like they did this season, there's a very good chance Zach Robinson will be out of here. And they want to move TJ Yates close to the Robinson and also close to the Michael Penix. So when Zach does leave, there's really not that big of a drop off from the system that's already in place, which is very smart. Raheem is letting you know, hey man, I played the higher within. So it's very possible TJ Yates could be the next offensive coordinator. So that's just a little tidbit on that. All right, y'all. Before we get out of here, man, we reacted to T Terry. What's going on with you, man? Says if the offense does good, OC will probably get a hit. Exactly, T Terry, and that's why Raheem Morris made the change with TJ Yates, because he's looking further down the road. I said if our offense sparks off, other teams will be looking at him. Exactly. But yeah, we reacted to Fontenot and Raheem Morris's press conference, and I scoured the internet today before I came on, and I found another interview with Raheem and Terry. This time more personable interviews where they're sitting down talking to someone, and I'm assuming that we can actually hear the questions as well as the answers. So I want to watch those with y'all if y'all don't mind. We'll look at those. Neither one of them is very long, so it's not a long watch at all, but we're gonna look at those together here. Give me just a second. We'll look at Raheem first. And we're gonna just react to these. And this is coming from, I want to make sure I give them their credit here. PFT Live. So shout out to PFT Live. We're gonna react to their video. DJ, cut that music for us, please, sir. Thank you very much. So, let's take a listen and see if we get anything different with this interview here. Bam. So let's start this and see what they got to say. Falcons head coach Raheem Morris.
Joining us now, head coach, entering his second season with the Atlanta Falcons, Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris.
I mean, you guys are catching up like old friends. I know you go way back, but at some point we got to get to work.
Well, we do go way back.
We do, Mike. I was there when we drafted him.
Right.
He was our first pick of that year.
Are you the one they blame for that? Are you the one they blame?
I mean,
Rich McKay, I think they blame mostly.
he had a chance.
I did.
And we still blaming Rich McKay today.
Have a chance. I had a chance, and then we did the cool thing for a little while because he was the assistant secondary coach to Mike Tomlin, and he would be a part of, like, we would go out on Friday night, me, him, and Rondé Barber, and we'd have a dinner. And
we really had like a
okay, yeah. Let's get past all that, brother. I mean, that's not why we're here.
Rest in peace of Dr. Yako.
Yeah, right.
But to throw the ball then as compared to what I knew,
right?
And I'm like, man.
All right, y'all catching up on past times. Let's get back. Let's get to the Falcons stuff.
Last year in free agency, Terry Fontenot said earlier, your starting quarterback Michael Penix. Just a small topic of conversation this week. What's going to happen with the guy you signed last year in free agency? Terry Fontenot said earlier that he's prepared to have him as the backup. Are you prepared to have a $27.5 million backup?
So it's not really that. Like, you got to budget that stuff very early. You got to be able to have a plan for those guys in place. Like in all of those things always change. Those things always happen, how you go about your profession, how you go about your business. But talking about financially being in position to do it, no, you don't want it. Is it ideal? No, of course not. But like all of those things will be.
Okay, so I can appreciate that. He so far he's been a little more candid. I know that's ideally no, of course not. That's what you want. Nobody wants to spend that much money on a backup. Of course not. But hey, that's the situation that we're in right now. So far, he's been a little more candid than he was on the one we looked at yesterday.
Be determined in time, right now is really early here. The scouting combine, all of those things will happen right now. Obviously we have a bunch of different things that we got to go through from a contract standpoint because of the no trade clause and other things that that you talk about. So we'll figure those things out as we go. I feel really good about the people that's going to be in charge of making those things happen, whether it's myself, whether it's Terry, whether it's all the guys that are involved with that decision making on Kurt's team. But ultimately, we'll make those decisions as we go and figure it out.
How did you come to the decision, right? I know. I mean, what was it? Was there? It was the Washington or the Giant game. You make the change.
Yes.
Right. Was it something that was kind of happening for a few weeks before, or was it just the Raiders game where it was like, finally, that's it. We don't like the way he's playing, and we're putting in Penix.
Chris, quite honestly, when you make the decision, we hadn't been playing well. We didn't start playing well right after the bye. Probably the game right before.
Kirk hadn't been playing well. And I know he's saying we as the head coach about the team, but Kirk had not been playing well. Bijan and, everybody else was balling. Even the defense was playing pretty good around that time. Kirk was not playing well.
For that, but the game before that, obviously is always tough when you're talking about, did I do something wrong? Yeah, right before that, the bye, we got our butts kicked by, Sean Payton in Denver. They did a nice job of really handling us that day. And then we come back and we play somewhat decent, but we throw the 4 interceptions, obviously at the position. You follow it up the week after that. You go out and you play another game, not as bad, not as good. So you're trying to rationalize these things in your head. And then ultimately we get to that game where we get the win and we play really well around them. And we didn't play particularly well at the quarterback position. So it was all based on decision-making process and things of that nature. And it is what it is. And ultimately, as the head coach, you got to make those decisions when you make those changes. And you want.
Sounds like he was trying to give Kurt the benefit of the doubt, hoping like, look, this is the 13-year veteran. He knows how to play through these spells. He knows how to play through droughts. Droughts take place in all sports, whether that be baseball, soccer, basketball, football, and the very good players, they know how to get out of those droughts, and I think it sounds to me, that's my interpretation of what he has said so far, hey man, I'm just hoping he can get out this drought. Meanwhile, watching the rest of the team, and we eventually had to make the decision to pull him.
Want to be able to handle those the right way. And I got so much respect for Kurt. I got so much respect for what he's done in this league and all the things that he led us to up until that point, getting us to 6-3, really providing a lot of life for our fan base, providing a lot of life for us. And I wanted to make sure that thing was handled the right way. So be able to sit down with him and make those changes and be able to go about those appropriate things and putting Michael Penix in for Russ was the right decision. And we made those things accordingly.
Yeah. Well, when did you know, that Michael Penix would be ready for it? Was there another point in the year where you're like, hey, I mean, we're not making him the starter here, but he's ready if we need him?
There was moments even early on where you saw things that were pretty special from Michael when you're talking about training camp and you're talking about moving forward to go into that first preseason game and why you only don't play him in that one, because there was things we started to see at that point where we didn't want to put him back out there to do those things because we knew we can develop it.
Right.
So Raheem saying, y'all hush. I saw it in camp. I saw it at practice. I saw the first preseason game that this kid was special. So I didn't need to have him play all these preseason games. I don't want to risk injury. I knew he was ready if we need to call upon him. So that's pretty much what I'm gathering for that.
From the practice
space
and training
of practice.
camp. Yeah, right.
So really we got a chance to develop him throughout the year, and he got a chance to be with TJ and DJ and Zach Robinson and all these guys. So we're able to see him develop from the off field and even his support to Kirk within the room to do some different things. So we felt really good about putting him in. Had no idea exactly how poised you would be when you actually got into a game. And he got a chance to show us those things, the poise, the ability to throw the football, the ability to make all the throws and the plays that you wanted to make. So we really got fired up about those situations. So those things happened pretty quickly for us. And I can't tell you the exact pinpoint time,
right?
Because we had a starter in place.
Yeah.
We're winning football games. We felt good about where we were going. And then the things didn't go so well on that back end, that back stretch. So we had to make the change.
Yeah. And look, I understand that there are contractual issues that influence the situation. And you mentioned the no trade clause. And the bottom line, though, is we've seen in today's NFL, you do need 2 quarterbacks. And you can't afford to keep Kirk and his cap number when you've got Michael Penix on a rookie contract, because you never know when a guy is going to get injured. I always hate to say that because I don't want to jinx someone.
Sure.
But you want to have a competent number 2, and it may work out that you have one.
You know, like I said, it's very early, Mike, but I mean, you looked at it just like we look at it from an everyday standpoint, and you have to have a guy that can go in there and, you know, hopefully play a few games, but to be able to get you through whatever you need to get through, whatever the case may be. But we know who we are, we know what we have, and we feel really good about the human. Right. And all those decisions will be made moving forward here, and hopefully those things come to a nice resolution for us.
How about you?
You don't sound too assuring that Kirk Cousins will be here next year, even though Mike Fioria tried to actually throw him a Magic Johnson no-look pass and say, you know what, hey, you've already signed him, the contractual issues. You know, it's a 2-quarterback league. You want a competent backup and, you know, knock on wood in case something happens to your quarterback one. So, hey, why not? You know, and Raheem Morris, you know, went back political like, no, he didn't say it, but his reaction or his statement to me leads me to believe that they're definitely moving in the direction of getting him out of here as soon as they can.
And your process and all of this, right? You're one of the greatest defensive minds in football, right? How do you balance?
You're so nice, Chris.
Well, I've been saying that for a while.
Right? According to Chris, there are 20 of the best defensive minds in football.
We'll go there another point.
But how do you balance being the head coach? And you didn't call the defense this year, but I know you're involved. And you know what's going to be that process as we go forward here.
Yeah, very similar. Like you want to be in position to be a part of the offense. You know, you never want to get caught up in being an offensive defensive coordinator as a head coach. You know, like it's amazing how you can manage the game as far as that standpoint from an offense standpoint, because most of the managerial decisions happen on offense.
Yeah, right.
So when you're on defense, you can always chime in and be able to have help and be able to be helpful. And being able to do it this year, moving forward with Jeff Ulbrich, feeling really good about it because of the compatibility of us having some history together and us moving forward. I feel great about that and really look forward to us going out there and getting this thing all put together so we can go out there and win as many football games that we're capable of doing.
Right.
We asked Michael Penix Jr. about Kyle Pitts at the Super Bowl. He said he believes in him.
Sure.
What needs
Okay, so this is what I want to hear. I want to see what he's going to say about Kyle.
to happen to get him to achieve more of what that potential size, speed, just all the measurables would seem to point to?
You know, Mike, you hit it right in the head. You know, you want to be able to go out there and get all the things accomplished that you want to get accomplished with a talent like a Kyle Pitts. And a guy like Michael Penix, he sees all that talent, and he knows he has the ability to go out there and distribute the ball across the field. We also have some other pretty good targets on our football team. You're talking about Bijan, you're talking about Drake, you're talking about Mooney, you're talking about the surprising efforts that Ray McCloud gave us this year.
Right.
And then you have Kyle Pitts out there. And Kyle Pitts had almost 700 yards. I don't know the exact number of receptions, but a healthy number of receptions. And he had some games where it looks like potentially the best player on the football team.
Right,
We're talking about Tampa and catching a high cross and able to break a few tackles and score a touchdown, or beat man-to-man coverage and breaking off on a pillar route and maybe to catch that thing down the field. So he has some moments that leave you wanting more, leave you desiring more. And with a guy like Michael Penix that believes in him, you want to go try to fathom if you can get that thing done and see if you can get more.
Right.
So we're going to take it as far as we can take it from a coaching standpoint and see where we end up.
All right, that's a pretty supportive statement of Kyle Pitts. You know, he did point out that there were some flashes this year with Kyle Pitts. Some, you know, few games. Kyle Pitts was like one of the best players on the field. You could see the potential. You could see the athleticism. You could see the quote unquote unicorn in him. You can see the speed as well. You know, that's a Kyle Pitts with about 6'6". You know, you could see all that. And then there was just some games where it's like, damn, is Kyle Pitts even on the field? But it really sounds like to me that Raheem was saying, you know, Michael Penix said he likes Kyle, and you know it looks or it sounds like they're going to try to keep Kyle Pitts around for one more season to see if Michael Penix can unlock him. See if he can turn him into this generation's Travis Kelce, even though that seems like it's probably going to be Brock Bowers. But you know, you get the point. You know, let's see what Michael Penix can do with Kyle, and if Penix can't get much more out of him, then at that point, hey, just let him walk away in free agency, and you know, get the comp pick that comes with it.
you got a great eye for talent. I know that. We've talked about blight players throughout the years. You've been around a lot of secondary players. I've been asking some of the GMs, what's the hardest position to evaluate? What's the most annoying? We've gotten two safety answers so far.
Safety,
which I know is not going to be yours because that's one of your sweet spots right there.
Safety would not be my answer.
No, I know it won't be. You have an eye for that department. So what would be yours that you'd go? It takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of variables that go into that one.
For me, I think safety might be annoying,
right?
Because the amount of time that they're around the football.
That's what I think.
And you got to kind of try to break those things down,
right?
So that might be why you can get some of those type of answers. But obviously, the hardest position to evaluate in sports, potentially quarterback,
right?
And when you got to get out there and find the guy and find the attributes and find the ethos and the makeup of the guy that can go out there and lead your franchise, that's always going to be an issue.
Yeah.
One last one before we let you go, and this is the most important question I'm going to ask all week long. I don't know if you saw it, but Super Bowl weekend, Bill Belichick did a little Falcons troll job with the T-shirt his girlfriend was.
Oh, I like that they brought that up. They been a little petty on this show, man. They been petty. I like that. Let's see what he say.
Wearing. Will you be wearing any Duke gear the week that Duke gets ready to play North Carolina?
Funny.
No, I got so much respect for.
He's not even going to go.
Arguably the greatest coach in the history of our game. It's like it's just like no need for me to do that. Like I got so much respect for Bill and what he's done throughout his career and all the things that he's done in this game. And I understand the riff that I had nothing to do with.
Yeah, right.
All right, Raheem Morris. Well, let me break that down. He said a rift I had nothing to do with. And I use beef liberally here. The beef that I had nothing to do with between him and Arthur Blank, and that the friction they got going on, that's between them two. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had nothing to do with that. I didn't make Arthur Blank hire me and not hire Bill Belichick.
But I will not be wearing any gear going against UNC.
Not only does he have nothing to do with it, he wants to stay so far away from it. He won't touch it with a 300-foot
and
pole.
He does have something to do with it. He was there in Atlanta. Hey, what? Oh no, you weren't.
No,
you missed out.
No. I was there for the game. You talking?
All right, so that's most what they're gonna say. As far as that Bill Belichick stuff go, Bill Belichick was trolling the Falcons that entire weekend or whenever that happened. If you notice, he showed up to that event with all of his Super Bowl rings, or I think which is 8 of them. He had them all on, and he just so coincidentally, wink, wink, had on Falcons colors, red and black, had on all his rings. Then, as they say, they're saying right here, his girlfriend is wearing a Falcons championship T-shirt. As we all know, and props on the troll job, Bill. That was a great troll job. I'll give you from one troll to another. I'll give you props on the troll. That was a great troll job. But I don't know. It's like Bill Belichick. You're like in your 70s now, man, and you're so accomplished. Okay, the Falcons didn't hire you. Like you were that. I mean, that really struck a chord with him for him to take this that far. It's like, brother, it's kind of starting to make me see like, well, I see why you coaching college now. Like, bro, like you still that scoring about that? I get it. They didn't hire you, and maybe you felt like the Falcons led you to believe that they would hire you, but I mean, how long are you gonna play the role of the bitter baby mama? Exactly, Keith. I just said bitter. He's just like a bitter baby mama at this point, bro. Like, come on, like Bill Belichick, you're supposed to be way above that, bro. Like like I say, hey, I give you props on the troll job. Amazing troll job. But I don't know. Seems like at this point you should have been able to move past that and focus on North Carolina. But that was Raheem Morris. We're gonna look at Terry Fontenot, who actually has a shorter interview before we get out of here. This comes from CBS Sports. Shout out to CBS Sports as we're using their content on that. Y'all make sure that y'all like, subscribe to CBS Sports. Terry Fontenot interview that we're going to check out here as well. Let's go.
Alongside the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, Terry Fontenot. Terry, thank you very much for joining us. Before today, I think the last time I saw you, were you in a suite with LeBron James at the college football national playoff?
So, great question. I was in a suite next to LeBron James.
Okay.
So I was in Arthur Blank's suite, and LeBron James was in the suite next to us.
Okay.
So I was in a suite. But right after, the deal goes on the Jumbotron, and then I started getting texts from some of the players and the guys thinking I was with LeBron James.
Sure.
But clearly, I'm not cool enough to hang out with LeBron James.
Well, I don't know. I was curious. You know, you get that GM title. You know,
No.
maybe you get to be in a suite with LeBron.
No.
Did y'all talk at
It's
all?
not a good thing to be next to him anyway, because it just makes you look like the smallest person in the world. You don't realize how big of a human being he is until you know, there's certain people that when you get around him, it just makes you feel like tiny.
Right.
Like he's at a different level and just in terms of his size.
That was always when I was around Julius Peppers. Like it was hard for me to understand like how someone could actually, you know, be that size. So I know what you're saying. Hey, you were just at the podium earlier making some noise. I just got to go ahead and dive into it, especially at the quarterback position. You guys have no intentions of cutting Kirk Cousins, huh?
Well, at this point,
if that wasn't a leading question, you guys have no intentions of cutting Kirk Cousins, huh? Straight leading. Let's see how Terry rebound on that question, because that's nothing but a loaded leading question.
Just like any other plans we have with any players on the roster, we always have to make plans, and then we have to go through the process, and we continue to, and there's times you have to pivot and adjust. And so just like we said at the end of the season, our plan was to move forward. That hadn't changed.
Is that going to make for some?
Okay. Terry said, just like I said before, well, our plan is to move forward. That hadn't changed. Terry Fontenot, so you're not finna make me come out of my poker face. You know, I know every other GM that is possibly interested or inquiring about Kirk Cousins will watch this interview. I'm not gonna change my stance. You know, poker face.
Awkwardness, because it certainly seems on the outside like it has a high potential to get a little awkward.
Well, I mean, I again, with any other player, there's always outside perspectives and there's inside things and there's the truth, and you know, but at the end of the day, like, high respect for Kirk, his representation. We'll keep all those conversations private as we move forward.
Have you all?
That's always been Terry, though. Terry had never been the type of GM to tell you, and he shouldn't, you know, he shouldn't. But he's never been the type of GM to tell you what me and this person's agent or their representation are talking about, or give you any kind of hints or vibes on what the team is going to do or who they're looking at. He's never been that type of general manager. You know, he's always kept things close. You know, he hasn't changed that yet.
Understanding that you will keep private those conversations, have you had any conversations yet with other teams potentially interested in Kirk?
Not.
Let's see if he gonna answer that.
Not something we would share. You just can't.
I figured that's what he was gonna say. You know, like, bro, like I'm not telling you that. You know, look how he looking like, dude. Do you not understand the words coming out of my mouth? I'm not finna sit here and tell you that, dog. Like that ain't me.
You know, Jonathan, it's not just with that specific situation, but there's a lot of decisions that we have to make on our roster, whether you're talking about extensions, possible trades, because at the end of the day, we have to do everything we can do to get ourselves prepared to actually be active in free agency in the right way. And then obviously in the draft, but we have to put this puzzle together, and there's a lot of variables, a lot of moving pieces to it. But as we go through it, we just have to make sure we stay above board, keep those things private.
Okay. So we don't know what the cap number is yet. Right now, you guys are a little bit above the cap with some work to do, probably some fairly easy restructures to get underneath that. Yep. We're not concerned necessarily about that. What do you anticipate you all will be able to do in free agency?
Well, the hardest thing right now is what we do is we go through and we evaluate our roster. We know what our specific needs are and the needs that we have to fill. And you want to do the best job you can do in free agency, filling those needs prior to the draft. It's like you don't want to go to the grocery store hungry because everything looks good and you're trying to buy everything. You want to have a good meal before you go to the grocery store. And
damn, that's some game right there. You don't want to go to the grocery store hungry because everything looks good, and you would tend to overspend. You want to have a good meal before you go to the grocery store. I like that, Terry. I had never heard that before.
you can be more selective, right? So that's what we want to do in free agency. But in order to do that, you have to start with your roster first. And so, but when you're looking at all the free agents that could fill your needs, the problem right now is you don't know what those numbers are going to be.
Sure.
You anticipate. We have our administration department, our analytics department, our pro department. I believe we do a really good job trying to forecast and trying to anticipate what the numbers are going to be, but you just don't know. So right now you just have to evaluate those players, know what players would fit for you, and then when the bell rings and we can start learning those things, you have to be ready to attack.
One of your guys, Drew Dahlman, probably the best center who is on a number of top free agent lists.
Yeah, he should be.
Are you guys going to be able to retain him?
Look, we'll see. We love Drew and everything he's done. And he's an even better person than he is a player. All those things. So it's all positive with Drew. Have a lot of confidence in our offensive line, and he's a big part of that. But again, you just don't know at this point. Sometimes there's players that you can retain, and sometimes players get numbers because anything we do at one spot, that's going to affect every other spot on the roster. So we love Drew, but we'll see what happens.
Man, I sure hope that we can retain Drew Dahlman, but I'm very doubtful that we can. As they're indicating here, he's arguably the top free agent center in the league this offseason. So there's going to be a lot of teams that want to sign him to a contract. He's still relatively young as well. And I'll say this. Pound for pound, thus far, that's probably, emphasis on the word probably. So don't nail me to the cross on this. But that's probably Terry Fontenot's best draft pick of his tenure is Drew Dahlman. Pound for pound, based on his production and based on when he was drafted. And I know somebody, oh no, Bijan. Based on his production, based on when he was drafted. I think Drew Dahlman was a 4th round draft pick. Bijan Robinson was drafted in the top 8. So Bijan is supposed to be a superstar, especially being a running back drafted in the top 8. Drew Dahlman, based on when he was drafted, was probably just supposed to be a backup for the majority of his career as a 4th round pick. But he's propelled himself to be a highly sought after free agent this year. And I hope I'm wrong, y'all, but I don't foresee him coming back to Atlanta. I think somebody's going to throw him a real big bag. I see him getting at a very minimum of at least $12 million a year. And I think that might be a little too rich for Atlanta's blood this offseason. But we shall see. Hopefully my my intuitions are incorrect.
What has to be that next step for Michael Penix Jr. this year? What are you looking for?
I think now the special thing about Mike is you see his poise, and we all know the physical talent and all those things, but his poise, the way he handles himself in every situation. And so now as we get into this offseason, it's a cool time for him to be able to really build the chemistry. And last year, the only receiver on our roster going into the offseason was Drake London. But now you have Drake and Mooney and Mike and Kyle, and you go through all of our Bijan, Tyler, you go through all our skill positions, and a lot of things are set in that sense. So now he can really spend time with those guys, building the chemistry. And the cool thing about Mike is even he's got all this physical talent, but he is an unbelievable worker, unbelievable communicator, natural leader, all those things. So it's going to be cool for him this offseason to really spend time building up that chemistry and really working through improving in all areas.
I think it's been 7 years since a playoff victory for the Atlanta Falcons organization.
Yep.
Goodness gracious, Lord.
What's going to need to happen to make sure it doesn't get to 8?
Yeah, not okay. And we talked about how disappointed we were. We let our fans down. You even feel like the players in our building. Like we have some really good high character guys that work really hard and do some really good things, and we have good players in spots, and you feel like you let them down when we don't win enough. You feel like you let everybody in the building down, so it's disappointing. So now what we got to do is we got to move forward, and we got to focus on starting with our roster, looking at making those right decisions, the restructures, the extensions, who are we keeping, what decisions who can we not bring back, making those right decisions, attacking free agency aggressively, and then in the draft, whether we have 5 picks or more, making sure we're hitting on those picks. So we got to be effective. We got to be aggressive.
So Terry is just basically letting us know, like, hey, get ready. Somebody or some people will be restructured in the off season. Some will be let go. Some guys may get extended. So that's a little bit of insight that he just dropped there.
Because we have to do everything we can do to make sure we're putting this team in better position to win.
Speaking of draft picks, Terry, it's been 4 years. You've been the GM 4 drafts. Your first round picks have all been offense.
Yeah.
Is this the year? Is this the year you finally go defense?
It's super deep on defense, and all these drafts are different, right? Last year, the first defensive player came off at 15. We'd sign ourselves up for that this year, but we know it's not going to happen. There are a lot of, but it's super deep defensively. We always have to take the best player, because at the end of the day, they're the best player for us, because we got to improve our total team. Now, that can be at any level on defense. It could be in any spot, but there's a lot of good defensive players in this draft, so it's exciting.
Who excites you the most? What position group? You're not going to tell me the player. What position group excites you the most?
Man, that's because I would say every level. You look at the secondary, whether we're talking about safety, corner. There's linebackers that do a lot of different things, versatile, because there's some.
So the first 3 positions, he says safety, corner, and linebacker. So I'm going to assume that those are priority areas that he's going to be looking at. Based on him saying that, and based on what Justin Simmons' agent said, I don't think Justin Simmons will be back. And obviously, the Falcons want to improve at the quarterback 2 position. So, they may look to get a cornerback in the top 2 rounds to pair aside of AJ Terrell. And it sounds like he's coming to the conclusion that, Troy Anderson probably not going to be the guy we need him to be. Nate Lemon is a great value person on the roster based on the fact that he is an undrafted free agent and we don't pay him a lot of money at all. But you know what? In order to get this defense to the next level, we're going to have to get us a real legit linebacker to run alongside Caden Ellis. So interesting.
Some guys that you can say inside linebacker, but now they can also play on the edge and they can move around and do some different things. Obviously, some really good defensive linemen. I would say at every level on the defense, there's some really, really good players. And the coolest thing is there's versatility, like whether we're talking about a safety that can also be a nickel and do some different things, and a corner that you can even vision as a safety because of the physicality and the toughness. Again, linebackers that can play on the edge. When you look at this, the uniqueness of this draft, there's a lot of really good defensive players, but there's also a lot of good, really versatile defensive players that you can do some different things with.
And that seems to be the way of the future in the NFL. You talk about those versatile defensive backs, right? That's really going to become more in vogue. We just saw what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do.
Yes.
But I think a lot of your fans who are out there watching, listening to this are saying, yeah, I want to hear him talk about the pass rushers.
Yeah.
That's been a spot
that
you guys, you have to shore up. And it seemed like you guys got that sack production at the tail end of the season.
Yep.
But it had been a while. How do the Atlanta Falcons move forward in this draft and this free agency evaluating the edge market?
Yeah, there's some good edge rushers in this draft. There's interior pass rushers, there's edge rushers, and again, there's linebackers that can come up and rush on the edge. And
he mentioned linebackers again. So that seems like to be a hot topic for Terry. Linebacker.
And have a lot of confidence in Raheem and now Brick coming in. There's already been some things that we did last year with some of our players, things that we did with Caden Ellis, things we did with AK, and our pass rush really ticked up at the end of the season. So that's the exciting part, to really sit down with our defensive staff and with Raheem and sit down with the scouting staff and go through how we utilize each one of these players, because there's some really good players. But it's all, we talk about it, it also matters if people are wide open. It doesn't matter if the rushing going to have time to get there.
Right.
And so it's important at every level. So there's really good corners and safeties as well. So we just have to add some good players.
There you have it. LeBron James's best friend, sort of.
Man, I wish. That'd be awesome.
Terry Fontenot, thanks for the time.
All right, so we'll start right there. It looks like that's going to be the end of that interview. So that was Terry Fontenot and also head coach Raheem Morris making their rounds on the interview circuit during the combine. So that is that, y'all. Again, this was just a pop-up show. Just wanted to go over that real quick. Once again, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, you two gentlemen are on the hot seat. Got to get us in the playoffs this year. If not, you got to go. That's just where we're at right now at this point in time. Before I get out of here, man, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for checking in with me, man. Thank you to everybody who came in and chatted with us, rapped with us. As always, I do definitely thank you for that a lot. I do appreciate it. If you haven't hit that like button yet, before we get out of here, make sure that you do me a favor. Just smash that like button. Really helps the channel out a lot. And we will be back soon. Maybe back tomorrow night for the Waffle House. I'm really not sure at this point. But if so, I'll post it on the channel so everybody can see it. In the meantime, in between time, y'all be good. Be safe. God bless. Peace.